Hi everybody, good afternoon. I'm Josh, and today I'm going to be talking about school starting times. And so, not since college started, but ever since I can remember, I always loved school. I didn't mind homework. I just hated waking up early for school. That was just like the one thing I couldn't do. So my major claim for today is middle and high schools starting at a later time will significantly have a positive effect on the students. So my first claim is that school starting at later times will have positive health impacts on students because it allows them to get more sleep. So good sleep can increase problem-solving skills and enhance memory. So according to the National Institute of Health, sleeping helps strengthen memories created throughout the days and enables the brain to connect to previous ones. And also researchers from the University of California, Berkeley, have discovered that sleeping before learning helps prepare the mind for new information, and it is very important to consistently get that sleep so your brain keeps the information and doesn't forget it. Another thing that good sleep improves is your immune system, which helps fight off the cold or prevents you from getting sick. So startschoolslater.net states that sleep deprivation's impact can include weight gain, eating disorders, risk of obesity, cardiovascular problems, potential impacts on the brain development, mood swings, and etc. A lot more. So it is very important for students to be getting their full sleep. Another point to that is that children turning into adolescents start to have a shift in their sleep cycle or their circadian rhythm, which makes it harder for them to fall asleep earlier compared to older adults or younger children. So typically sleep cycles begin around 11 p.m. for teenagers and continue through 8 a.m., where schools will always start around latest at 8 or 7:30, which should give students at least 30 minutes or an hour to get ready, so it has them waking up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., which doesn't give them their full 9 hours of sleep that they need, which I will get into later. And also with them not getting enough sleep, it's really, as bad as that is, adolescence is the most important time for students to get their sleep. So according to sleep experts, most adolescents need about 9 hours of sleep per night, and today nearly 3/4 get under 8 hours of sleep per night, and over 2/5 get 6 or fewer. And my final point to this is that some schools that have already recognized this problem have started to make a change and seen positive results. So on March 13th, 2017, Cherry Cook High School decided to change their school time, pushing it back an hour and 65 minutes. So in result of this, the school is seeing large and small benefits to physical, mental health, to learning, attendance, graduation rates, car crashes, and overall the students' well-being. So overall, middle school and high school should be starting later for students to get enough sleep so they can perform at their full potential, so they don't be sleep deprived, and because schools have already started to change and it has seen positive results. Thank you.
Somewhere there's a website that's got these articles on it, because this is the third time I've heard this one today. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just obviously things become popular, as subject of discussion, and apparently we have a bunch of sleepless adolescents who have decided they want to talk about this issue, which is okay. The proposition's pretty clearly stated. There's no preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. I could kind of pick out the first point dealing with the health benefits, and I wasn't sure if it was the second or the third point that talks about how some schools have started doing this, which I suppose the real inference here is that we can show that these changes do have an effect. Everything else is kind of amorphous. It's there somewhere, but I'm not sure where it's supposed to fit, and I think that's a little bit problematic. The data on the importance of sleep, I'm not sure there's much controversy about that. You've got the National Institute of Health, you've got a UC Berkeley study, you've got other groups that talk about how important sleep is. I don't think anybody denies that sleep is important. The question is, why are people not getting enough sleep, especially adolescents who are going to middle and high school? And here's where your argument needs to really be developed more, because your key explanation here is that the circadian rhythms of adolescents change, which makes it hard for them to get to sleep before 11 o'clock p.m. And I'm waiting to hear some proof of that. That sounds like the rationalization of somebody rather than some scientific proof. Where's the data on this? Where's an authority who says that this is true? Is there any statistic that supports it? Because I'm still of the mind that said, go to bed at 8. Go to bed at 9. Why is changing the schedule of the rest of the day for everybody else the answer to the problem for people who don't go to bed early enough? Your reason is this circadian rhythm thing, but you don't have any evidence to support it. I'm not saying that it's not true. It might very well be true, but it's missing in this particular argument. Then on the third point where like I said, I think it's the third point where you're showing that we've had kind of effective outcomes on this. You mentioned the one case that you've got. There's an example that you're pointing to, but the data on this is pretty vague. It's like, let me reach into the bag and pull out everything that, we have better test scores, we have higher graduation rates, we have lower driving accidents, and who said this? What's the data that supports this? This just seems like it's, the PR firm for the high school that's adopted this, and I need a little bit of information that supports it. Again, I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm just saying you need to prove that it's true, and as a consequence, it's a weaker argument than it should be. I think your summary of the argument was better than the opening of the argument, kind of reminding us here's what the points were and here's how we get to that particular point. And like the key link in your whole argument is that circadian rhythm thing. Because if you can get some information on that, then it might make sense to change the schedule. Because adolescents in high school, that's their age, that's the group that they're at. So we need to adapt in those particular circumstances. But if it's just that they're playing their video games until midnight, my sympathy level is real low, and my desire to and my need to change everything else for that seems like it's unrealistic, right? So that's I think the key point.